From the Beaver County Auto Studios that make a Bubba Beaver believer out of you, it is the live Pens chat a few minutes late today. Hi, I'm Dan Kingerski. Thanks for joining us. I had a little bit of a technical difficulty. You see, when you've got all of these cool Apple products and someone logs out of one, it logs out of all of them. And I'm not going to say who. Wasn't me. Someone, I might need bail money. All right, let's talk about the Penguins game from last night. And it's 4-3 shootout loss to Montreal. Now, this is one of the things I do as I'm kind of getting set here into the show. I've been scrambling to get the technical difficulties fixed here. There we go. I kind of lead people to water for a week or two. I've noticed something for a little while now. And I wrote the column last week about continuation from last year, and that's not good. And it's really not. And what you saw last night was a continuation of a theme from last year. And I don't want to just dive into a hot take 4 games into the season. I want to see them against Vancouver. I want to see them against Toronto. Maybe by Friday morning, I'll be ready to kind of cannonball into that scenario. But for today, want to take your questions and your comments. I'm curious how many of you maybe noticed the same thing that I indeed am seeing. So hop on the chat there on the YouTube page. It's right to the right. I'd be happy to go in and out, take your questions and comments. Also on Twitter at the Dan Kingerski. I guess I won't be checking Facebook, but please feel free to drop us a note because I think we're posting it on there as well. I guess we should get this out of the way today. I've not been apprised of any updates on Justin Schultz. Scary injury last night. I think we're all justified in assuming a bad situation for Schultz. Your leg doesn't go like that, and you show up the next day. Hey, Jason Mackey did tweet. Jason Mackey of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette tweeted he saw the Schultz leaving the Bell Center in a walking boot with crutches. Not necessarily dispositive, but yeah, you can kind of draw your own conclusions from that they don't put you in a walking boot with crutches to, make you comfortable and let you hang out like that, which throws the Penguins' defense into a little bit of chaos. Here's why, and I want to get into this just a little bit, because now look, there's been a lot with Juuso Riikola lately. I get to go back to saying it originally. A couple of people told me it was Riikola. A couple of reporters said Riikola. I'm like, oh, I've been saying it wrong. No, it is Riikola, fortunately. A lot's been made. I mean, he's an exciting player. If you haven't checked it out, it really was I was really kind of proud of the work I put into it on the Pittsburgh PHN Extra, when I did a shift-by-shift recap and analysis of Riikola's debut against the Vegas Golden Knights. And the reason I was proud of it is it's really easy to say, oh, he's great, or he doesn't make mistakes. And I saw some professionals dropping those lines last night. Let's pump the brakes a little bit. And I'm not taking anything away from Riikola. But without Justin Schultz on that second pairing, Riikola is not ready for prime time like that. He's still learning a lot about playing defense in the North American game. He does a lot of things really well, but he's also struggled on a couple things. And you don't want to drop him in to second pairing. on the right side. His minutes against Vegas were a bit sheltered. A lot of offensive zone starts, a lot of time against Vegas's fourth line. Those add up. To give some people, I think, an out of context picture. He played very well in the 18 minutes that he played against Vegas, and I think he played about 17, 18, 19 minutes again last night too. And I want to be careful, because if I say anything negative, people say, "Oh, he's bashing." Take it with some nuance and some context here. He's still mishandling the puck, not clearing the zone. He's still not. He's a little bit slow sometimes with the outlet passes, which is allowing forecheckers to get on him and to get on the defensive pair. There's some bugs to work out in the game yet. And so the Penguins' defense is in trouble without Justin Schultz, because then Jamie Alexiak or Jack Johnson become that second pair right side. And I don't like either of those guys on the right side. They're just better left defenders. So pending what we'll probably find out tomorrow, because the Penguins are off today, unless they put out a press release. We'll find out more when the Penguins practice tomorrow exactly what's going on with Schultz. And if he's out months, I think the Penguins have to begin exploring the trade market almost immediately. You can't let the season get away from you. And this team is constructed so that that right side defenseman is very important, especially in the top two pairings. You can hide a guy a little bit on the third pairing, as the Penguins have done with Riikola. You can't do it on the second pairing. And I don't necessarily think that Johnson or Alexiak are capable of that sort of responsibility. It's just not a good idea. So we'll see. The next 48 to 72 hours will be very big in the Penguins' world. Huge, dare I say. Before I move on from the Penguins' defense, Chris Letang, my gosh, has Letang just been really, and I mean really good. He's looking, I don't want to say 2016, because he was on a Norris Trophy tack then, but he's not far off. I mean, he's having fun. He's having a lot of fun, I think. Just feeling good on the ice. And you know how that goes. When you're feeling good, you start having some fun, and all of a sudden, your play goes up tenfold. Letang was great last night. He really played his best game since 2016. No question about it. He did not play a game that well the entirety of last season. He just didn't. And that's obviously more a testament to what he had to go through than it is anything else. So that Penguins first pairing, you're going to see play 25 minutes here while Justin Schultz is out. They're going to have to hide two pairings until they have somebody on the right side that they're comfortable with, who can provide the proper offense and defense there. They really were kind of spoiled, I think, a bit with Schultz there. He had become a plug and play kind of guy. He wasn't going to cost you. He was going to add some offense, and you didn't have to worry. And that really is a huge loss for the Penguins. Come on, jump on the chat. I see a lot of people watching. Jump on the chat if you can. And I'm going to just kind of retweet this real quick. I also want to get to the lines. I dished out the report card last night. And I wasn't necessarily as kind to the Penguins coaches in that PHN Extra report card for one very big reason. That the Penguins absolutely jumbled their lines last night. They didn't practice that way on Friday morning. Friday morning was mostly the same. Olli Mata drew in for Jamie Alexiak on that third pairing with Riikola, but the lines were generally the same, right? And I want to pull those up here. Then, the morning skate, kind of an optional affair Saturday at the Bell Center. Sidney Crosby, Malkin, Kessel didn't take part. So, you had 5 big pieces missing from the lineup. But then all of a sudden, come game time, you kind of have this. You've got Derek Brassard in the left wing. You've got Jake Gensel on the right. You've got Riley Sheahan on the third line center. You've got Matt Cullen in the middle with Simone and Sprong. I just wasn't so crazy about all of that. I thought it was a couple big bites at once. And you saw the Penguins had some offense in the first period, but it wasn't cohesive, coordinated offense. It was just a lot of talent playing talented hockey. And in the second period, Montreal kind of figured out what to do. They just came at the Penguins. Came at the Penguins full bore, and the Penguins' lack of cohesiveness just showed up big time. The Penguins attempted 5 shots in that second period. That's not being badly outplayed. That's just having your lunch money taken, your lunch taken, your book bag taken. Now, in the third period, they did get it together. But that's a lot to ask of a team. And then, to boot, to go to 5 defensemen. You had this perfect storm last night that really was not to the Penguins' advantage. It was all to the Canadiens' advantage. And here's, again, the Canadiens, another team that is very under-talented, but fast. Fast and sprightly, gnat-like are the Canadiens. There they were. There was one guy who really, I thought, kept the Penguins in it last night. And there he is, Casey DeSmith. Let's get into the column that I dropped this morning about Mr. DeSmith and Matt Murray. And I think it's an important discussion that the Penguins should be having. And that is with Matt Murray's health. This concussion obviously was not that serious. He missed 1 game. However, Matt Murray has not been on top of his game for some time now. This is one of those continuation factors that I talked about last week, where in last season, Matt Murray was never dominant. He was never on his game, in big part because the Penguins' defense was just bad. The team defense was awful. I don't mean the defensemen. I mean the Penguins' collective team defense was bad last season. And they relied on their goaltender far too much. And Murray wasn't, one bad goal gets in. A couple more hung out to dry chances find the back of the net. All of a sudden, the goaltender's kind of swimming in quicksand. And I felt Murray spent a lot of last season in that same quicksand. He started that way this year. The Penguins were giving a good bit of chances to Washington, but he let in a few soft goals to make that quicksand deeper when he very well could have gotten out of that in the debut game. Vegas was Casey DeSmith's win. That was, I think, statistically, Vegas had a better night than Washington. Yet the Penguins won 4-2 as opposed to 7-6 and having to outscore their opponent. Now, the Penguins played a little better team defense against Vegas than they did against Washington. But DeSmith was brilliant. just as he was brilliant last night up until the shootout. And of course, I'm 99% sure that I was the guy who jinxed DeSmith when I tweeted out before the shootout. Yeah, I know. Hey, Penguins might have an advantage. No one knows Casey DeSmith's weakness yet. That took about 30 seconds to be disproven, didn't it? The Canadiens just snapped a couple stick side, and there you go, huh? Penguins lost that shootout, but in 5-on-5 or regulation and overtime play, DeSmith was absolutely brilliant. And so to the crux of the column today, the Penguins need to start Casey DeSmith more often. I'm not saying more often than Matt Murray. I'm saying more often than they had scheduled starts for him. Important distinction. Matt Murray is still the starter, but it's not a bad thing if Casey DeSmith pushes Matt Murray. That's on one level. On the other level, it's not a bad thing if Casey DeSmith protects Matt Murray. If DeSmith is playing more games, there are less potential injuries for Murray, and you can keep him healthy presumably going into the playoffs. Those are important things to consider. And also, Casey DeSmith has outplayed Matt Murray to this point in the season. I mean, obviously 2 games each is not exactly a judgeable sample size, but it is a judgeable sample size on DeSmith to give him more looks, to give him more starts. He's given the Penguins a chance to win, and that's all that matters. Who's going to give you a chance to win Tuesday night against Vancouver? Who's going to give you the chance to win Thursday against Toronto? And right now, Casey DeSmith is not a question if he'll give them a chance to win. That can change in the blink of an eye, obviously. DeSmith, a 27-year-old, he's effectively a rookie, but, rookies have to be under 25 years old. So we can't call DeSmith a rookie. He's technically still kind of a first-year player. Hey, there's my boy Bob Probert hopped on the chat. I know it's Sunday morning. Everyone's having Bloody Marys. I should walk down to 4th Avenue outside the office and partake myself. In fact, I should have one here. That'd make the chat much better, wouldn't it? Let's see what Probert has to say. It's time for Sprong to get Sid, Gino, or Broussard. 3 points in 4 games with the least minutes on the team. Bobby, we're gonna pause your question. I want to finish up on DeSmith, and then I'll get right to Daniel Sprong. So I think the Penguins have everything to gain with DeSmith. You look at last season when Grubauer pushed Holtby. You saw what happened at Washington. Holtby then had to come back hard, and he had to take his net. Capitals go on to win the Stanley Cup, and Braden Holtby was very good and instrumental in that. Also, around the league last season, you saw other unheralded backup goaltenders like Keith Kincaid in New Jersey push Corey Schneider for playing time. I'm trying to think of some other places where you may have seen that. Obviously, up in Boston, they were trying to figure out who their goaltender was. Tuukka Rask had to kind of grab his net up there. It's not a terrible thing when your backup goalie is playing well. So the Penguins have an ace in their sleeve right now that they can see where this goes. They really can kind of follow this path and see, hey, go back to 2008. Ty Conklin, 32-year-old journeyman, pushed Marc-Andre Fleury. Conklin, who had spent most of his career to that point in the minors, pushed Marc-Andre Fleury to a greater height, and the Penguins won the Eastern Conference, almost won the Stanley Cup that year, and Fleury was brilliant in the 2008 playoffs, if you recall, and even the 2008 Stanley Cup final. So DeSmith has a chance to at very least play that role for the Penguins. All right, let's get to Probert's chat here, and I think I did mention look, just hop onto that chat board on YouTube. Also, hit that subscribe button so that you're notified of these live chats. I don't do them at consistent times. We're still experimenting a little bit. And also, you know, the way the NHL schedule works, 4 days off, 3 games in 4 days, you know, these won't be on a consistent day of the week as well. Daniel Sprong. Okay, I want to get into this. All right, so as Probert said, it's time for Sprong to get more minutes with Brassard, Sid, or Gino. Bobby, here's why that's not necessarily a good idea. 3-4 years ago, the fourth line had a different role than the top 9 or the top 6 on any given team. That's no longer true for most teams. The fourth line is playing the very same style of hockey that the top line is playing. They're playing a fast game. They're looking to add offense. They're not playing that defensive grind game that fourth lines have traditionally played. I talked with Matt Cullen a little bit about this last week, maybe 2 weeks ago. It all blurs together. And Cullen was straight up, and I think the video is on Pittsburgh Sports Live. It's like, no, look, fourth lines play the same way now. Montreal, even, you know, with their lack of talent down that deep in the lineup, still straight ahead speed game looking for offense. So it's not as if Sprong is being forced to play a different game when he plays with Riley Sheahan and Matt Cullen. Or last night when he played with Matt Cullen and Dominic Simone. By the way, that's a very good line. You saw some good things from Sprong last night in the first period. You also saw some bad things going forward from Sprong and Simone. So Sprong is showing flashes of steps forward. But then in the next shift or 2 shifts later, he gives it back. So there's that. There's a huge concern there. If he can't play against the other team's fourth line, if he can't play a speed game with Cullen and Simone, he's not going to play a speed game with Sidney Crosby against the other team's top line. And I think maybe the latter half of that sentence is the important part, right? If he's struggling for position, if he's struggling for puck support and defensively, you drop him in against the other team's top line, and it's going to look like an Alka-Seltzer. You know, hit the glass of water. It's just going to erupt in a bad way, and at that point, you take away a player's confidence. By keeping Sprong on the fourth line, here's a little hidden factor that, you know, runs through a coach's mind. Hopefully Sprong is unhappy down there playing on the fourth line. I think he played 6 minutes last night. He didn't play 7 minutes. I think 6:45 because the Penguins were having their lunch taken from them, and that fourth line was not able to compete. Straight up, they weren't able to compete. The Penguins shortened their bench and had to stop the bleeding. Hopefully Sprong is unhappy about that. The Penguins wouldn't mind if Sprong built up some hate, built up some anger internally, and began to transfer that onto the ice. Look at what he did in the first period last night when he was geeked up to play in front of that Montreal crowd. You know, effectively his hometown arena. You saw he earned that point. He earned the apple with Simone. But where did he go after that? And that's the problem. Against another team's top line, it would have gotten ugly. So, Bob, I hope that in a roundabout long way answers your question. Sprong is where he should be right now. He's playing the same game against lesser competition with some talented players. Simone, Cullen, Sheahan, Cullen, whatever. I guess this brings us full circle again to the lines last night. I liked that fourth line. With a little bit of time, I think they could be pretty good, although Simone's game is really kind of all over the place right now. And I mean all over the place. He can look really good one shift and then turn the puck over on the next two. He's got to really tighten things up. It's not a question if Dominic Simone knows what to do. I think sometimes he's trying to do too much. I think he wants to be up there on that top line, and he's trying to show he's capable or worthy in getting himself in trouble. And that's never a good thing, is it? Let's check Twitter. Hopefully no one... Oh, yeah. I was in here throwing a little bit of a fit before the show because someone had screwed up the entire system. Not going to say who it was. I was throwing a full Bill O'Reilly fit, pounding the desk, and my cohorts here tweeted out that Bill O'Reilly, "We'll do it live! We'll do it live!" It was well earned. Absolutely well earned. I appreciate all the followers and the subscriptions. We do need you to click on that subscribe button so you get notified. And we also have to hit 1,000 subscribers. We have to get to that magical place on YouTube so this all makes sense and the money coming in. I'll give Probert a second shot since it's kind of a quiet Sunday morning. The other thing he wants to hear my take on, the opponents obliterating the Penguins on the shot clock, reasons, solutions. Oh, boy, Bob. This is that hot take that I'm kind of keeping in my back pocket for a few more days. You're onto something. Follow the thread. Why is that happening? Ask yourself, why are the Penguins not possessing the puck? Sullivan is a very good coach, and in my estimation, really has his finger on the pulse of the team almost always. And his recent imploring of the team to regain their swagger, however, is very interesting to me because I don't necessarily understand it. I don't necessarily understand what he's attempting to accomplish with that line. Look, last year the Penguins had a ton of swagger. The Penguins were full of unearned confidence. You have to earn swagger. You have to earn it. And going back to the Penguins, boy, I'm going to give away my hot take here. Going back to the 2016 model, when the Penguins were just fantastic. I think the 2007 Stanley Cup was so drastically different than the 16 Cup. Let's go to the 2016 model. Or the 17 Cup was different than the 16. I think that's what I said. The 2016 Penguins team didn't play a talented game. They were shooting from the rafters. They were just dominating that puck with speed, some grittiness, and determination. That's how they were winning games. The other teams could have beaten, Tampa Bay easily could have knocked off the Penguins in that Eastern Conference final, but the Penguins just had the puck the whole time. So in 17, they played a very talented game. They relied on the counterattack, the counterpunch to score goals. And so you come into this season, 2 years after that. Look, the league is caught up. This is what I was sounding the horn about 2 years ago. And last year, I was kind of blaring the horn. And the blogosphere, "Oh, shut up, Kingerski, you don't know what you're talking about." We're now here to exactly what I was trying to get home to a lot of people. And this is maybe, I think, one of the reasons why people get mad at me. Sometimes I'm too far ahead of the curve. I appear wrong, and then you look back and go, "Oh, crap. He was right." I'm sure I'm wrong on some stuff, like every other human being on the planet. But we're here. to what I was sounding the horn about, in so much as look at Montreal and how they played the Penguins. Look at Carolina and New Jersey last season, how they played the Penguins, and the teams the Penguins have had trouble against. Look, the Penguins rolled through the Western Conference the last few years. The Penguins have dominated the Western Conference, and why is that? I'm leading y'all to the water here. And it's actually a bit like the Mississippi at the moment. I'm leading y'all to a very big kind of epiphany here. Why have the Penguins played well against Vegas, Los Angeles, Winnipeg? Why have they not played well against New Jersey, Carolina, now Montreal? I want to see them against Toronto on Thursday. Why have the Penguins struggled against the Islanders and not put away some bad Islanders teams? Why have these things occurred? Why were the Penguins able to continue beating up on Washington until the playoff series last year, which almost wasn't a fair fight because of the Penguins just being toast? Do you get where I'm going with this yet? Hopefully you do. Jacob says, where was Alexiak last night? In the press box. Mata drew in because the Penguins are juggling their pairs. It wasn't a reflection of Alexiak's play on Thursday night against Vegas. It was a reflection of, okay, that pair could have been better. Let's see if Mata and Riikola connect and catch fire. Because they wanted to see more of Riikola, and now they need Riikola in the lineup. Jacob, Riikola will be locked into the lineup because he's a right side defenseman. And the Penguins are down to really only one legit right side. That's Chris Letang. So now they've got 5 defensemen who are naturally left-siders, and they're going to make 2 play the right side. That's why I think the Penguins wouldn't do badly to kind of cannonball into that trade market here. I don't know what's available yet. Obviously, the Schultz injury caught us all off guard. I actually chose to sleep a little bit last night rather than kind of roll through depth charts and minor leaguers. But one of our subscribers offered me a 16-page spreadsheet on every team's potential availables. This is why I love PHN Extra subscribers. That's some serious work to put together a 16-page. And he's not a blogger. He just does this for his own amusement. I dig that. I mean, that's dedication. Nintendo Addict says, go Pens. I'm with you. By the way, NES Addict, I can't find a tube TV. And Mike Tyson's Punch-Out with obviously on the flat screen. I have a 3D TV, which is even a little slower. I could not get past the second bald bull. It was killing me. I could roll through the second piston Honda, but bald bull was just kicking my butt. And I got past him a couple times, kind of knowing to pause and not dodge because of my TV being too new. How do you find it? I've just started playing ice hockey instead. Let the fat guy hold the B button, fat guy on the blue line. Millennials like, what the hell are you talking about? The original Nintendo. Put the fat guy on the blue line, hold the B button in for like 10 seconds, and let the shot rip and see where it goes. That's what I've been doing a little bit in my spare time. You've probably noticed there haven't been any Where's Bud Moonshines. Nope. I stopped putting a couple bartenders through college, and bar waitresses and bar waiters, and I guess they're all waiters now. You don't use the term waitress; that would be sexist. But you get what I'm saying, right? I've been in and writing a lot, so kicking around. Yeah, the addict says it took him a long time to beat it. Well, I need to find a tube TV, I think, or at least a TV that's a little faster response time. Okay, so for those of you just joining us, I see the numbers spiking here. We've already gone through the Justin Schultz, the Riikola, Chris Letang, Pens lines, and I've teased the big hot take. I want you to jump on to the chat side here. You tell me where to go next. I sense some frustration isn't the right word from Mike Sullivan. But there is definitely concern already in Sullivan to jumble the lines like he's had. Maybe it's anger. Is that it? Whatever it might be. He's pressing buttons already, and I don't think he expected or wanted to have to hit buttons like he is. The Penguins are clearly not playing up to their potential, even for October hockey. They're still just sloppy. And look, this is the same team that's been around for most of the last 3 years. You know, you drop a Connor Sherry away, but you still have most of the same team. Cohesiveness should not be an issue at this point, and yet it is. Malkin had a couple of assists last night, but can you say that he played well? A couple bad minor penalties. I don't know. I think it was a Montreal reporter who asked Sullivan in the post-game scrum if he had an issue with the call on Malkin in overtime. Too many men on the ice. Sullivan said, nope. That's Mike Sullivan's speak for it was a good call. Player was wrong. I'm unhappy. Encapsulated into 2 letters. Nope. Hey, there's Tanner as well. And Chris, appreciate you joining us. Chris's question first. Well, you know what? Let me finish the Mike Sullivan stuff yet. His first glimpse into his frustration last season, I think, came late in preseason this year when he said, you know, we threw around a lot of rationalizations. It wasn't anything the coaching staff wasn't prepared for, but. And essentially what he was saying was we could not shake them out of the mindset that they were tired. They decided they were tired. They decided they could turn it on when they wanted. They decided they could win the Stanley Cup without doing all of the little things. They decided that and use rationalizations. Oh, we'll do it the next game. Don't worry, we'll be fine. Oh, you know, we're a little bit tired, a little bit of rest, we'll be fine. All of those things that I was, you know, waving red flags. I appreciated Sullivan saying that. It kind of made a lot of the stuff I took heat for last year. Like, okay, well, I wasn't crazy. You know, he didn't say it for my benefit, clearly, but you know, and I think that's continuing. Again, another continuation, and I don't think he's going to put up with it much longer. I think you know, he dressed the team down pretty well last Saturday. There wasn't a reason to dress them down after the game last night, except that second period was such an abomination that you almost, you know, and Sullivan's fix to it became part of the problem in just switching up the lines. I thought when Schultz went down and the Penguins were to 5 defensemen, first of all, I don't think I would have taken that many big leaps with the lines all at once. But yeah, sometimes you throw it on the wall and see what sticks. And I guess 4 games into the season is the time to do that, right? But when Schultz went down and the defense lacked any cohesion, I think I would have undid the line changes just to try to find some normalcy and a lot of that. And I've forgotten a little bit about all the pictures and the graphics I had. And see, yep, there's the guy that saved their bacon last night, Mr. Casey DeSmith. And don't forget, we are in the Beaver County Auto Studios. They'll make a Bub Beaver believer out of you. The Dodge, the Jeep, they've got great prices up there in Beaver County. So we've gotten that. Oh, wait, questions are rolling through it a little too fast. Let me go back to Chris. Does it seem Sid is having a slow start? Slow maybe isn't the right word. The puck hated Crosby Thursday night. I mean, the puck absolutely hated him. It would get close to his stick and bounce over it. It actually happened. He would have had a wide open net twice. Once on a one-timer, and it just hopped at the last second, and once in the crease. Where all he had to do was stuff it in, and the damn thing hopped again right, by the time he kind of caught it, settled it, or even tried to whack it towards the net, the defenders were on him and the goaltender was back in position quickly. The puck hated him. Last night, I don't know what to make of that line. You saw spurts of Derek Brassard playing strong, and Crosby and Gensel kind of hooking up, and Gensel trying to figure out the right wing, and there was so much talent on that line last night. There was just absolutely so much talent that they had some scoring chances. But you're right, though. Here's two guys they need something from. Malkin has points but isn't playing well. Crosby's playing well but doesn't have the points. So you tell me which is better. Which is more important? I don't know. I think Crosby and Gensel, if they stay on the same path that they're on, they're going to have huge numbers. That's not anything to worry about. Malkin and Kessel, they're going to have points, but they're going to give up as many opportunities. And that's where the goaltending, that's where goaltending is going to come into play, isn't it? With Malkin and Kessel. Tanner, thoughts on Sully not trusting Sprong, barely played after the first? You have to earn trust. You really, really do. I thought he showed some flashes in the first period that were encouraging. He's got to have to do that again. Look, on the fourth line, you are the first to get nailed to the bench when things aren't going well. That's just life. Imagine Daniel Sprong in the soup when the Canadiens owned the Penguins. Imagine Sprong playing a lot of minutes in that second period. What would have happened? Is there anybody watching this now, later, ever, who's going to say that Sprong would have been the right guy at the right time? Let me show you my T-shirt, by the way. That's kind of an odd thing to do, I know. I've got my got the flannel and the Canada shirt on today. Sprong would have just been eaten alive in that second period, and the coaches knew that. He did play some in the second period, and he contributed. That fourth line contributed to the avalanche of the Canadiens. So the Penguins just shortened the bench and said, okay, well, if we're going to die on our sword, we'll die on the top nine. Guys we trust. Let's see here. So I haven't watched the games as intensely this year. How has Brassard looked? Addict, Brassard was tremendous in the first game of the season. Absolutely. That line may have been the Penguins' best. Simone, Brassard, and Brian Rust. Simone was really rough in game 2, which kind of brought the line down. I think Brassard has been good. I don't know. I need more. How's that? To this point, he's stood out several times as Derek Brassard. I don't know long term where that's going, though. How's that? That's all I got to say about that. And what would your D pairings be with Schultz out long term? Again, I think you have to make a trade. I think you need to bring in a right side defenseman. Ricola, if I'm being very honest, He's a great story. I need to see him in person again Tuesday night to see the progression of 3 games, right? He's making a lot of mistakes in his own zone with the puck, and that's bad bad news. You can't elevate him in the lineup. I don't like Alexiak and Johnson on the right side. However, if I had to make my pairings, you can cross off, absolutely cross off Mata and Jack Johnson together. Those two are just dog meat together. So I think you might see Alexiak Johnson going to the right side on that second pair, and then Mata and Riikola, just because you can't put Mata and Johnson together on the second pairing. Cannot not do it, newbie. Let's see here. Don't forget to click on that subscribe button, please. And thank you. Wow, 46 minutes already. I'm missing the Bloody Mary bar downstairs. Hopefully you all grab some brunch with some cool people today, and you can get into that. I think Tuesday night, looking ahead, turning the page here, Tuesday night is an important game for the Penguins. I don't know who they're going to start in goal. I don't know if you ride the hot hand with Casey DeSmith or if you feel the need to get Murray back in there. I don't know. Vancouver is a young, hungry team. I'm drawing a blank on his name. He's got 5 goals already this season. Elias Peterson and Bo Horvat. They've got a lot of good young talent there in Vancouver. Now that the Sedins stepped away and there's sunlight for these kids, boy, they're pretty good. I don't think they're a playoff team yet, but they're going to be a fun team to watch. So I hope the PPG crowd actually shows up for the game and doesn't bail in the third period, or just kind of sleeps through it because it's a Western Conference team. I think if you love hockey, Tuesday night's going to be a lot of fun. If I were in Sullivan's shoes, I'll never be. You don't want me to be. I don't want to be. If I were picking a starting goaltender, I think I'd go back to Murray on Tuesday night, though. I think pending his health, pending how he's feeling, pending his frame of mind. You know, he was a little... We talked with Matt Murray on Friday after practice. Was it Friday? Thursday. Thursday after the morning skate. Sorry. He was a little surly. You know, Murray's always short. Like, I don't need to get deep into this. But he had his head down. And Murray's head is never down. But it was down on Thursday. And there was just a darkness to that interview, which is on Pittsburgh Sports Live. You can kind of, one commenter said, "Boy, this is awkward," or "This is weird," and it kind of was. So, obviously, I'm not with the team, and the coaches would know far better. If Murray's frame of mind is right, then he goes on Tuesday, and you see where you go from there. Let's see here. Oh, okay. I can't. There's a conversation going on the chat board which I can't keep up with. So boys, I don't know if you have to put my name in the question or not. But I guess we can kind of wrap this little shindig up. Check it out on Pittsburgh Hockey Now. The Casey DeSmith story today. I lay out the case for giving him a lot more starts. I'm not saying he's the number one goaltender. I am saying by playing him more often than he was scheduled, there's a lot of benefits, including some good goaltending play. Also, check out the PHN Extra report card from last night. We got deep into some of the Chris Letang stuff. Also, some other players earned some good grades. Oh, I forgot to mention, because it makes me mad when I see some of the tastemakers piling on Jack Johnson, because Johnson was really good last night. Johnson was an animal on that 5-on-3. He was an absolute animal. That was his best minute 30 as a Penguin. It might be one of his best minute 30s all season that he plays. He was poking pucks away from the net. He was hammering guys. He was really good. Don't be, there's no reason to bag on Jack Johnson despite their bad Corsi against Vegas. The numbers and the play are not matching up with Jack Johnson right now. So I wanted to slide that in there. I probably should write that for tomorrow, maybe. In fact, I think there's my Monday column, huh? The numbers are not matching with Jack Johnson. Okay, now, I appreciate everything. I appreciate the compliments here. Cheers, everybody. Enjoy your Sunday. I'll probably do another one of these again, maybe Wednesday, maybe Friday after the Vancouver or the Toronto game. Till we talk again, kids, have fun.